Last episode of What's Going On with Shipping, fire on board the Peruvian warship BAP Guise during RIMPAC 2022. I'm your host, Sal Mercogliano. Welcome to this episode of What's Going On with Shipping. If you're new to the channel, take a moment, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you'll be alerted about new videos as they come out. So yesterday, July 17th, we got word of a fire breaking out on board the Peruvian warship Guise, taking part in RIMPAC. RIMPAC is an annual exercise, the Rim of the Pacific exercise, large-scale exercise, involves multiple nations from around the world in the Pacific, based out of Hawaii. The report came in that at 0800 Hawaiian time, that a fire had broken out on board the vessel and involving the engine room. The fire was subsequently extinguished about 5.5 hours later, but two crew members were seriously injured. We didn't know the identity of the vessel for a long time because the U.S. Navy would not release the identity of the vessel since it was not one of their own. They had to wait to get permission from the government, and then we subsequently found out it was a Peruvian warship. So what I want to do is just provide you a quick update on what we know so far. It's early into this story yet, still developing, but to give you some background on the story and also on the vessel involved. So this is an early image released from RIMPAC, the U.S. Navy, of the Guise. You'll see her there on the right side here. This is her leading the formation. Several images of her had come off, and in particularly, she'd been sailing in a group of warships, a French warship and a Coast Guard vessel, which will become very apparent here and why that's important here in the story. This is the statement from RIMPAC on this. This was released out on Twitter. It was the initial one was at approximately 8 a.m. Hawaiian Standard Time, and it's a little bit below here. I apologize. Let me raise this up. There you go. The Rim of the Pacific watch floor received reports of a fire and potential injuries aboard a combined task force ship. The combined RIMPAC force is providing support for the vessel. The RIMPAC CIB will provide more information as it becomes available. This was also subsequently released. As of 1:40 p.m. Hawaiian Standard Time, the fire in the engine room aboard a combined task force vessel is now extinguished. Two critically stable patients were evacuated from the ship by a helicopter from the French Navy frigate Pateron to the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Midget, and have since been transferred ashore by U.S. Navy helicopter from the Abraham Lincoln. This is the French frigate involved. She's a Floreal class frigate based down in Tahiti. She's a kind of consistent member here of RIMPAC. There's actually a photo of her back in 2014 participating in it when she arrived. She has been steaming with the Guise, and so very not unusual for her to be the vessel that provided aid and her helicopter. They were sailing in conjunction with this vessel, the Coast Guard cutter Midget, which is one of the new security class cutters. The two injured crew members were flown by the Pateron's helicopter to the Midget, and there they were treated and then loaded on board a helicopter from the Abraham Lincoln because they needed the range to get those patients ashore to Hawaii. This is the statement from the Peruvian Navy on the subject. I translated it, so it's not in the original Spanish. You can go back and look at it if you want, but this is from the Marina de Guerra del Peru. And it says here, the Peruvian Navy informs the public of the following. Today at 1300 hours, during the development at sea of the multinational exercise RIMPAC 2022 carried out in the Hawaii, USA, the BAP corvette, the BAP is the like USS for the Peruvian Navy, Guise suffered a fire which was mitigated and controlled by the crew with support of foreign units. Unfortunately, however, two crew members suffered burns as a result of it and were evacuated by helicopter for their respective care at a specialized hospital in Honolulu. The details have been communicated to their relatives. It should be noted that the rest of the naval personnel are unharmed, so it's good to know that no one else was injured in this. Likewise, the Peruvian Navy has arranged for the command to evaluate and present an initial report on the events that occurred to determine the corresponding actions. So it is a serious fire. We know this because we received a photograph of this. This is the USNS Grasp, one of four Navy salvage vessels, U.S. Navy salvage vessels. She is based in Pearl Harbor, but this is her sorting from Pearl Harbor, heading out She showed up on marine traffic. Unfortunately, she's out of range now. So this last ping on her was 12 hours old, but you can see she beat a pretty straight course at her full speed of about 14 and a half knots heading to the area. The Grasp has firefighting equipment on board, dewatering equipment, and more importantly, can provide a tow if necessary. A 6 hour and 40-minute fire in an engine room could leave the guys basically unmaneuverable and taking her engine room offline, in which case she would have to be towed back into port. So obviously a serious situation. 2 crew members seriously wounded. Engine in the fire, fire in the engine room for 5 hours, over 5 hours, and now a rescue and salvage vessel sortied from Pearl Harbor to her position. So this is the Guise arrival. And again, I apologize, Guise. I'm flipping between French and Spanish here, so I'm not exactly sure how to say this name. My apologies. But this is her arrival in Pearl Harbor for RIMPAC. Took this off of YouTube with the arrival of all the vessels. She's an impressive warship, I have to say. She's a former Pohang class corvette of the Republic of Korea's Navy. She has literally just transferred over to Peru at the end of 2021. So she's brand new in commission for them. This is another video of the actual transfer of the vessel from the Korean Navy over to the Peruvian Navy. That's why she's showing the old number on her bow there before she was officially transferred over. As I was saying before, these are vessels built by the Republic of Korea, 24 of them, and specifically this vessel was launched in 1987, commissioned in 1988. So she's almost 20. She's got some age on her. Let's put it that way. She's got 35 years of service. These vessels were built because of issues between South Korea, the Republic of Korea, and North Korea, the People's Republic, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And so they are kind of traditional gun-heavy warships. And when I say gun-heavy, I mean gun-heavy. There's going to be a scene in this video later on where you see vessels of the Pohang class using all their weapons to bear. Just a really impressive little vessel. I'll give you some stats and figures on her. Almost 300 feet in length, 290 feet in length, 33-foot beam. But what makes her really impressive, as I said before, is just her array of weaponry she has on board. 2 Otto Malero 76 millimeters, 3-inch guns, which is impressive. 2 Otto Breda 40 millimeter twin naval mounts. You can see those, the Otto Malero 76 on the bow there, and then the 40 millimeter mounts above them. Just really impressive. 2 Mark 32 triple torpedo mounts, multitude of Browning 50 cal machine guns on board. These vessels can also be configured to carry missiles if necessary. Just a wide array of it. What makes these vessels also interesting and relevant to the events that just happened is her propulsion. She operates under a system called as CODOG. CODOG is a combined diesel or gas turbine. So she has twin diesel engines on board, specifically, and I got to look it up, I apologize. Twin MTU 12V 956 TB82 diesel engines, which produce about 6,200 shaft horsepower. Those diesel engines are designed for long distance sailing, for sailing at a long distance and for extended range. It's what gives her a 4,000-mile range at 15 knots on her diesel engines. It was really impressive for a vessel this size. But when she needs to kick herself up to 32 knots, she has a General Electric LM 2500 gas turbine. This is the image I mean. You can see the firepower of these vessels. The LM 2500 gas turbine boosts the speed up to the 32 knots. Burn a lot of fuel doing this, but gives it a lot of speed. And you may wonder, why does Peru need such a impressive warship and warships in general? Well, Peru has a large economic exclusion zone, which means goes out 200 miles, large area to monitor for fishing rights. We've seen issues with nations like, for example, China's fishing fleet really kind of cutting in on these areas. and basically pushing in fishing fleets into nations' economic exclusion zones. So navies in many nations around the world are also police forces, so they have to go out there and patrol. Uh, Peru has got a long history of its navy not getting along with other nations, Chile, Ecuador, Bolivia, you name it. Not exactly a long history, even though some of those nations don't have seacoasts anymore. It's largely because of this uh, uh, encounters that we've seen go all the way back to Peru's founding in the early 19th century, the War of the Pacific between Peru and Chile in the late 1800s, 1879, I believe it is. So Peru has a long history, has always had actually a very impressive navy. If you look at Peru over its history, it's had a very long, impressive navy, including cruisers and destroyers. This tragedy is exactly that. Hopefully, our prayers go out for the crew on board the vessel. Hopefully, they're able to get well soon. Burns are always a nasty thing. So glad to hear they're in Honolulu undergoing treatment. Hopefully, the vessel is going to be able to be salvaged and operate again. Engine room fire is always a dicey thing. If a fire burns for a long time in an engine room, you can start flooding the vessel because you start opening up sea suctions. Gaskets open up during the fire. You can potentially lose a vessel because the engine room floods. Engine rooms on warships tend to be the largest compartments on a vessel. Always a dangerous situation. So hopefully GRASP and the other vessels on scene will be able to help guys get back into Pearl Harbor, whether under their own power or at the end of a tow. But again, information still coming in. We don't know everything. Be sure to follow along RIMPAC. You can do it via the U.S. Navy site. You can get on their Twitter site at RIMPAC 2022, or follow some news sites that do this. I recommend USNI News, also Defense News. Two great sites that will be following RIMPAC in detail. Hope you found today's video informative. If you did, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you'll be alerted about new videos as they come out. This channel is devoted largely to commercial shipping, but we also do talk about naval and military shipping as it applies. Leave a comment, give it a thumbs up, share it across social media, and you can support the channel by hitting that super thanks button below and contributing to the channel, or heading on over to Patreon and become a patron for the page. Until next time, this is Sal signing off.